So today's episode is about change. Welcome to the second time that I'll be saying all of this stuff because I wasn't live last time. But what really got me thinking about this change was I recently finished God of War, that game, the 2022 version of God of War. I just finished Ragnarok. If you've played the original trilogy and the current, what's the word? It's not trilogy for two. Like the current iteration of the game, you know that Kratos has gone through a lot of change. Like in the original trilogy, he was a vengeful rage monster. That was like the term that they used for him. Athena literally called him a monster. She called him her monster, and she would like point, and he would go and like kill things for her. And now we see Kratos as a lot more of I don't want to say sensible, but he is a lot more sensible. He's trying his best to calm down. He's trying not to be that rage, vengeful person. A quick recap: in the 2018 version, he has a son. This is his second child. So he has a son with his second wife. She is passed, and like the whole premise of the game is that he's going to spread her ashes on the highest peak of the Nine Realms, right? That is the premise of the first game. Hijinks ensue. They meet gods, they meet friends, enemies. It's a really great game. It sets up the second game really nicely. A few years have passed, and now, after the hijinks that happened in the first game, the Norse gods are ticked at Kratos. They are not too happy with his presence in their area. They are worried about him, because like they know his story. They know what he's done. He's killed an entire pantheon of people. So they're worried that Kratos might throw a wrench in their plans. His son, being the young man he is, he's getting into trouble himself. And as I played the game, I watched Kratos and Atreus, that's Kratos' son's name. I watched them change over time, especially Kratos, I've played all of the God of War games. I literally watched that man evolve from a vengeful monster into a very, very, very reasonable parent. Like, I know sometimes when you're like playing, like he's very stoic. He doesn't show all of his emotions, but it's really hard to undo all of that. And like it's not like he has therapy. But he's trying his best. I feel like his second wife did a lot to help him realize that he needs to like change his ways since he is no longer a war general. He's not the god of war anymore. Like he still is a god, but he is not worshipped as such anymore. And specifically the second game, you watch as a parent has to deal with his son growing up and wanting to break out and do things on his own. And Kratos himself is just he like really isn't ready for that. He really does not want his son to like start doing things on his own because it's really dangerous. He's trying his hardest to protect him, and he doesn't know if his son is ready, if all of the things he has taught his son has like really sunk in yet. And at the same time, you can like since you are playing as both of them, you can see that the son really wants to prove to his father that he is ready, that he can do these things, that he does know how to do things now, like without instruction. So, especially like you can see it even in the gameplay, like even in the action scenes. So, when you first played the 2018 version of God of War, you had to like tell your son to do things. Like you unlock that skill tree to have him and you work together in combat a lot better. In this game, you don't have to do that. Atreus is a lot better at like already knowing a lot of the same stuff that you taught him in the first game. You can have him fire his bow. He's already like extending your combos. If you like knock someone up, he's already firing. Like you don't even need to press the button. He's firing at him. Sometimes when you do your finisher moves, like if you're a God of War fan, you know Kratos loves his big flashy finisher moves. Sometimes when you do those on the really big monsters, Atreus will come and like hit some key points, fire some key arrows. No direction needed, right? It's really nice to see that because it shows that Atreus is like evolved. Right? I guess that's not the right word, but he's grown. He knows what he's doing. He's been around the block. He's been fighting since I think in the 18 version of God of War, he's like, I want to say like 8. I want to say he's like 8 to 10, like between those ranges, right? I think in this one he's like 16. I could look it up, but he has a baby face. But I want to say he's about 16, and I know that's not like big man age in like the States or anything, but you know, like this is like a older time period. They seem to have like a younger threshold for being a man, and because it's like the old days, like they're hunting for food. Like it just seems like when you're like old enough to hunt by yourself, you're basically considered a man. And especially in the second game, you get to play as Atreus sometimes, so you get to like hear his thoughts on the matters, and he's like angry that his dad won't let him do things, but you know, it's not like he's like he hates his father. He's just like he wants to prove himself. And the reason I even like thought of this topic is because I watched them both change, and at my big old age now, I can kind of like see both sides of the situation a lot more clearly. Like if I was, how old was I when I started playing these games? If I was 8, I was playing God of Wars when I was like 8, I think. If I was 8, I wouldn't have understood. I wouldn't have understood Atreus at all, probably. Like because I was playing as Kratos, so I would always consider myself that character, right? So I'd be like, damn, this kid's dumb. He's making all these mistakes. He should just listen to me. And if I was like 18, I'd be like, man, Kratos needs to relax, bro. He needs to stop. He needs to let his kid make these mistakes. But now I can see both sides. I'm like, yeah, I just need to talk. That's really it. They need to talk, especially since there were like Atreus himself was keeping a lot of secrets. Like there were a lot of things he couldn't say because if he said them out loud, the enemy might hear. Which, yeah, the enemy might hear. When you're dealing with the all-knowing Odin, you don't want to let anything slip. It's a really great game. I really loved all the side characters too. I would literally find myself standing listening to the side characters because you got so much information about their backstory, their motivations, their relationships, like who is friends, who's not friends, who likes who. Like no one likes Heimdall. Heimdall's an asshole. No one likes him. And Heimdall doesn't care. He just doesn't because that's just who he is as a person, right? And they even encourage it sometimes because sometimes there'll be conversations behind closed doors and you can like walk up to the door and press like the circle button. It's on PS5, so everyone's playing a circle. Like you press the circle button, you can like listen in on the conversation, and this has nothing to do with like the overall story. Like you could completely skip that scene, like that would not affect your ending or at all. But like the knowledge that it gave me personally made me connect deeper to the characters, and so in completing that game, in completing God of War Ragnarok. Well, I didn't do all the challenges because I really wanted to like complete the main story and the secret ending, which I can't even spoil. Like I'm not gonna spoil the secret ending, even if it wasn't a big thing. Like the secret ending had a lot to do with change. The main ending had a lot to do with change. If there is going to be a third game, it's going to look so different from these first two games that it might as well be another reboot of the series. Ideally, like they could even go back to the hack and slash if they really wanted to, like they really could. Um, but the reason I wanted to talk about this was because playing that game made me really think about like my relationship with other people and like how personally, and like I'm sure most of you also, like you try to see yourself as the main character, really. And when you do that, you kind of like lock yourself out of the perspective of other people, and you're trying to like think of how things benefit you or how you're trying to benefit other people. And if you don't take in their perspective, I know it seems like I'm coming with this off the top of my head, but I guarantee you I thought about this. It's just sitting here talking to yourself, even when you're recording, it's just kind of weird. It's just kind of weird. But back to what I was saying. When you like don't take into account those other people's perspectives, you are just alienating yourself from them, really. Even though if you're thinking it is for them or you're doing something for them, you're not really even taking account if they want you to do that for them. I find myself trying my best to understand when it is the proper time to help someone or let them struggle. Because sometimes people want to struggle. They want to do something themselves. They want to prove to themselves that they can do things. And you gotta like let them. And other times, you just gotta help them. And I don't mean like take over. I mean just like give them a helping hand. For for a really silly example, like if I see someone struggling with a jar, I'm gonna open for them. I'm like, yo, gotcha, fam. Like that. Like I got you. And, you know, and even that example can be. Sometimes you gotta like let them complete that like task themselves. Like I know there was like shit. What was it? There was someone who had like I think it was like a muscle deficiency, and they really wanted to like struggle. And, like you just let them try at least. You know, like they gotta like work on those like fine motor skills. You gotta let them like pick things up. So like if it was that situation, I wouldn't have helped, right? Because I've been in those situations where you're like, all right, you should do that on your own because you're like trying to build up that muscle or that skill back, right? But other times, you know, you can just give them a helping hand. But really, like playing that game just really made me think about those interpersonal relationships, friends, family, relationships. You really do have to like put yourself in other people's shoes to really get what's going on. And I feel a lot of people have a problem doing that, where instead of putting themselves in people's shoes, they kind of put themselves in that situation and then try to be like, well, if I was here, then I'd be feeling this, I'd be doing that. And that's not the same thing. That is like completely different, right? Like when you just put yourself in that situation, you can see yourself doing different things and feeling different things, but you're not actually putting yourself in that person's shoes. Like I had this conversation with this one girl where she was telling me she was terrified of the homeless people on the train, and she like what said to me is like they're like you'll never truly understand what it's like for me because I, being a very large individual, would probably just never have that fear. It never even crossed my mind, honestly, that a homeless person on a train would like do anything to me. Because and it's not even like I think that I can like box anybody. It's just not something I think about. It does not cross my mind. Like I do not ever think about just getting picked up and ran away with. Like not crossing my mind. I'm like 300 pounds, bro. It's not happening. And if that person could pick me up and take me, they deserve it, bro. They've been hitting the gym. They deserve it. And it's just one of those things. And like, you know, like I tried my best to see where she was coming from, and like explain is like I know that you're afraid, and I know there's nothing I can say to make you not afraid, but like I try, I am trying to convey to you that like they are not as dangerous as you believe. But you know, like overall at the end, there's nothing I could say. Um, what else? Yeah, honestly, this is the biggest change because this is the first time I personally am hitting up the channel by myself. This is usually Vanguard's job. Vanguard has keys to the shop really. I just do all the technical work. I just set the stuff up. Um, but he was a little busy today, and EJ is busy every Tuesday, so it's just your boy. Could have canceled, but I didn't want to do that. I want to try to appear a little more professional, right? I'm still not the greatest with the whole speech thing because even though I like thought I was prepared, like I was literally sitting here getting nervous about this, and it's not like I haven't streamed before to an empty audience, right? But at least like before I would do video game streams, so like I'd be doing something. I could at least distract myself with playing the game. So if I had to stop talking, I could pretend that I was focusing. I guess like it was a subconscious thing too. But now I have to stop. Like no, I have to keep going. If I stop, it seems weird, right? And I do seem like I'm rambling because I guess it is a little bit of those nerves. And even though you are aware of that, it still manifests itself. Before I was saying like a lot, like a lot. This was back when I found out that I wasn't streaming yet. Totally slipped my mind. But when that happened, I was even more nervous. Now I'm more into the flow, more into the act of just chatting away. But I'm not gonna lie, I don't like it. I don't like doing it. I probably will do it more often though, because we all three of us have lives outside of this so far, right? Like, hopefully we can make this our main priority, but you know, we gotta eat. So until we can get to that point, we're going to have moments like this where like only one of us can show up, and that's a thing that we're gonna have to deal with. Like, those are also changes. And I know I'm kind of being kind of vague with the word change here, but it's kind of important to tackle all aspects of it. Like, as you grow older, things will change. Like, I remember being a kid, and what is it? I remember being a kid, and like I would look at these like Lego sets, right? Like, this is like just piece of Lego set, but like these were the big, really expensive ones. Oh, like I don't remember how much this cost, but like the really big, like $300 Death Star. Like, I never thought in my life I'd probably ever own something like that, and I still don't own that Death Star because that one was sold out. But like, I own this. This is part of the Discovery ship. The Discovery ship is way over there, way too big for me to pick up. Um, but like small things like that. Well, I guess it's not small, but like my life has changed to a point where like I can get the things that young me never thought they could get. Right, stuff like that. Like, here I am sitting in front of this like YouTube channel talking to people. Like, I never thought that would happen. Right, like I remember my first YouTube video was like, it was in winter too. It was called Ghetto Snowman. Me and my cousin made this tiny little snowman on my fire escape. And I didn't expect anyone to look at it. And guess what? No one did. But now here I am chatting with people, chatting to people, getting some pretty decent views sometimes. Like, I think one of our videos hit 500. We were ecstatic. TBH, shout out to everyone who watched any of our content. We really do appreciate it. We like really get excited when we see like the numbers going up, because we do it for you guys, right? Oh man. Um. See, now I'm out. I wasted all the good stuff in the beginning, and nothing was recorded. Nothing was recorded.